I'm Jax.
I'm Britt.
And this is Nerdorina. And today we're talking about Frozen 2 because I'm so excited it finally came out. So I initially set my expectations really low. I had heard some Twitter blasts that it was not as good as all the hype was saying it was and stuff. So I set my expectations low initially, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go into it. It's a Disney sequel. Disney sequels are not always what we want them to be. Is kind of how I went into it. And I was blown away.
Yeah, I remember when we were going in and Jackie were just letting me know, she was like, just so you know, everything I saw online, not positive. I think virtually everything you saw, right? Almost?
Yeah, I mean, and Andy had seen some stuff, our friend Andy had seen some stuff and was like, it doesn't sound like it was good. And I was like, darn, I really want it to be so good. Frozen is in my top 3 movies, and I wanted it to be really, really good. So I just wanted to set everyone's expectations before we went in. Let's not get too excited and then potentially be disappointed by this.
Yeah, which in a way was cool because walking out, you mentioned this, that we walked in, not expecting the world. And instead we got it, in my opinion. It was phenomenal.
I liked it better than the first one.
Yeah, honestly.
I feel crazy for saying that, but... Yeah,
I rewatched the first one last night too, just because I'm glad I did, because I didn't remember virtually any of it.
I do want to say before we continue, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you do not want spoilers for Frozen 2, stop watching now.
Leave.
And come back after you've seen the movie.
Yes, please come back.
But anyway,
and there's little things in the first one I completely missed, and one of them was in the very beginning of first Frozen, when the parents bring Anna after she's gotten hit the first time as little Anna, and the trolls ask, was she cursed or born with the gift, Elsa? And I remember watching it last night thinking, wow, that's a really important distinction that I should have been paying attention to. And I'm glad I rewatched it because that kind of came into play with 2 a tiny bit.
It definitely did.
Yeah.
And I also rewatched it last night, and I paid attention to it the first few times I've seen the movie, but it was something that I had forgotten. That when I watched this movie today, I wouldn't have put it together because it wouldn't have been fresh enough, and it was a small detail in the beginning or in the first one that didn't really matter. So I wouldn't have put it together, I don't think, if I hadn't watched Frozen last night before we went this morning.
Yeah. Noticeable differences that really jumped out to me was just the general maturity level.
Yeah.
Frozen 2 definitely, the characters have aged. It's literally only been
I
maybe 3 years
think that's
one?
what they said. Because they said the parents had died 6 years ago.
Yep, and in the first one they have the 3-year time scale.
Yeah. So I guess we're another 3 years later in this movie, roughly.
And it kind of, everything felt, of course it was still a full family movie, but it definitely felt like they were talking about stuff that, they were talking about mortality. They were, Olaf goes on this big, he kind of feels not quite a tween, but he's got this whole I'm getting older and I'm starting to ask these big questions,
understanding life, real life things.
And there's this bit where he has this big existential, as big as Olaf can have, big existential thought about fall and change, and this is in the beginning of the movie, and Anna comes and joins him, and he just references her general age, but references it as her being ancient. With your wisdom with age, what do you when do you stop worrying about these big life questions or start asking about them, or just he is? And she goes, I just enjoy it. Yeah. Generally,
she was genuinely I just live in the moment, dude.
And so that was a really cool angle, I thought, because Olaf in the entire movie this time, still goofy, adorable, icebreaker, really helped through the bad, dark moments.
He's
Olaf.
definitely the comedic relief.
Oh yeah, for sure.
was needed in this movie.
Yes.
There's some emotional bits in this movie.
One of my favorite Olaf songs was he's lost by himself in this very dangerous woods, Enchanted Forest, and he's singing a song about how, when I'm older, all this is going to make sense when I have the inherent wisdom of age that all children think we have.
Yeah. I was like, when does that happen?
He's just like running through all these scary things, being like spooked by like little elemental things that we later learn about, but at the time it's really scary. And like there's even a part where he's going through a dark cave with like fanged creatures,
like wolves or something.
And he's just being chipper, being awesome, and that was one of my favorite songs actually. And it was just really neat because the character development that they give this adorable snowman is really cool.
Yeah, they give him like a lot more personality in this one. They kind of turn him into a real character as opposed to just like the funny sidekick animal that is in every Disney movie, and he has like real feelings and fears and like crises and
yeah, for sure. And he has varying he has different relationships with the characters. He has very specific individuals he has a very different connection with. In the first one, he's kind of just like the tag-along sidekick character like you were talking about. But in this one, he, has a nice buddy-buddy, like, sibling relationship with Anna. It's chill with Elsa, but, I didn't really see them have too many moments. They're fine. They're still family, but, nothing quite as big. And then the whole Sven angle, they're pals, but, he's definitely much closer with Anna. And it's just really neat how they've curated that. Like you were saying, giving him much more personality, giving him much more depth, and it was really neat.
Yeah, I liked that a lot.
Elsa, when she and the gang get to this Enchanted Forest, they enter the mist, they are given a couple hints along the way that Elsa's important, because Elsa is the only reason that they're able to enter the mist. It's a really comical scene where they all approach it and they each take a quick turn, like trying to get through the permeable wall, and then the second it's established there's a wall here, Olaf turns it into a game.
Yep. He sure does.
He realizes it's a horizontal trampoline.
Yeah, basically runs into it, gets rebounded off of it, lands on the ground, laughs, and then does it again.
And continues to do that in the background, establishing that this is a continuous barrier.
Yeah. Until eventually Elsa gets them through the barrier altogether.
She touches it, parts the seas, and they all go through. And then just to reestablish this permeable wall, Olaf then continues to trade on the other side.
Yes, he does.
Yep. There has been established early in the movie the 4 different elements, the classic water, air, earth, and fire. Yeah. And they're angry. And that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Very big thing. And as she interacts with each one, it's not obvious that that's what's happening, but as she interacts with each one, she does have to not subdue them. She has to, how would you describe it?
She kind of calms them, or eases them. Yeah. I feel like that's a better word. She kind of eases the anger that's in them and creates like a calm or an alliance like type situation with them. And the fighting is what really angered the spirits, and that's kind of what we're here to solve in the movie, is figuring out this battle. So she's coming in and she's kind of creating peace in the elements as she's interacting with them, which is very, very interesting. The point of view that we're initially getting is that the Northuldra people are the bad guys, essentially, that they're the ones that broke the peace and the like unity and started fighting, and that's what angered the spirits. And now we're journeying into this mist to like find out what happened in the past and fix everything. Elsa keeps getting these like flashes of ice figures from the past that are giving her little bits of information from the past, and one of them is of their father being saved by a girl, and in the statues look to be about the same age, And Anna and Elsa immediately point out their father, and they're like, this is our father, blah, blah, blah. And they completely ignore the other woman, and I was like, oh man, I was wrong. Like, they completely ignored this other woman, and they do circle around back, and we find out it is their mother. So the mother is Northuldra, and the father is Arendelle, which obviously creates, like, much more unity between the two, and they're like, oh, we didn't know this kind of vibe.
And then when they pull out Mom's scarf, which is a periodically used symbol in the entire movie, because it's there when they have the flashback.
Yeah.
And so it's just known that Mom's always had this scarf. Beautiful scarf. It's got like some nice geometric patterns on it. And so when they pull out the scarf near the campfire with the Northuldra, one of the Northuldra goes, "Where did you get that? That's from one of our oldest families." And I was like, hold up. Like,
that's your first, like, real clue. You're like, okay, I know where you're going with this now, you know?
I was, like, so thrown off about so much. I was like, maybe it was a gift. Maybe he stole it. So this was me watching it the entire time, like, because I've seen Avatar: The Last Airbender. You know, when you got two clans, two towns, two peoples fighting over a very ambiguously delivered story.
Yes.
You're like, all right, something happened.
Something happened and everyone's misinterpreting it.
Yeah. So something's completely, like, the entire time I was like, either it was something mutual, or it'd be even cooler if our guys were the bad guys. So the entire time I was like, okay, they stole the scarf, I'm cloaking everything after this idea that, we're definitely the bad guys, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit right, but that was very wrong.
I did also start developing a theory that, like, they never came back to, so I guess it was completely, like, irrelevant to the story or wrong or, whatever. But originally, when Kristoff is kind of befriending that Northuldra boy, the, like, younger Northuldra boy, I forget his name.
Me too.
And they're, like, talking about reindeer and their love for reindeer and, like, all this stuff. I was like, oh, Kristoff is Northuldran too, because we don't know his history either.
Oh, that's true. He just has the trolls.
Yeah, so he, like, is all alone in the first movie until he interacts with the trolls. And I was like, ooh, is he going to be Northuldran also? But it never circled back around, so. But that was, like, a little going theory I had during the movie as well.
One thing that I really loved was the costumes in this one.
Ooh, I also really liked them.
Those, like, and several characters went through several costume changes.
Yeah.
And
there wasn't,
beautiful.
like, the generic princess dress that they just end up wearing the whole movie.
Yeah, and Elsa alone goes through at least 6 different looks, and it's not, like, a very dramatic, like, there's nothing, like, written in to, like, force a cool costume change for her to wear a pretty dress. It's very specific, very important instances, because her power fluctuates throughout the movie. And as she goes through different phases, as she goes through different trials, and she meets new characters, and she engages different parts of herself, her outward appearance starts to reflect her.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It manifests phenomenally.
I loved it.
Oh my gosh.
Her last 2 dresses were amazing. The, like, blue dress that almost, like, fused with her body. It was like she wasn't wearing a garment. It was like these kind of beaded sequin things that just gradually disappeared and became, like, her neckline, but it wasn't, like, a hard line. And it was, like, this, like, flowy, kind of sheer, sparkly blue.
Is this the one when she's approaching, like, near the end, when she gets ready to go swimming, essentially?
Yeah, like, she goes running in the ocean. Yeah. That dress, which I love. And the dress she ends the movie in, I love as well. And I love her transformation into that dress.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's in the musical number, right? Yeah, it's an excellent musical number. And it's when she's saying, and she's like, I'm here, you're what I've been looking for, in response to the voice that's been calling her the entire movie. And, as she's getting these flashes of her mother and, like, getting this confirmation, and, like, as she finds out that she's the 5th element, that's when she, like, her entire essence, she transitions into this dress that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
It kind of like raises her a bit higher, and now she's aware that she's the fifth spirit, and like it just kind of transcends her, I feel like, to this like higher level that she is now finding herself at, and I loved that a lot.
That was done really beautifully. Along with this, Elsa's hair in the entire movie, I don't know if you noticed this, but as she got closer and closer to accepting like who she was and all the elements of her hairstyle got less and less restrictive until at the very end of the movie. It was like no pins, no braids, nothing, just
down and loose,
fully down and loose hair. And I thought it was amazing because like throughout the movie, having the subtle and sometimes not so subtle costume changes, her hair was slowly changing. And like she like pulled it down.
Yeah, she kind of,
when she's running towards the water, she like shakes out the
like
braid, but it's in a loose. Yeah. No, it was a very like gradual, like it never backtracked. Like it was very deliberate. Yeah, and it was really cool. Yeah. Yeah, I really like that.
That went with her like whole personality. And by the end of the movie, she's very kind of loose and less poised than
she's so relaxed
than she's been in previous. So we're pretty much looking at like the most rigid that she is in the beginning of Frozen 1.
Yes.
To a gradual progression through Frozen 1 and Frozen 2 to her being her most relaxed at the end of Frozen 2. So that's kind of a cool dynamic that I didn't think of before. That like we've seen her go from this very kind of rigid, regal queen, like hiding her feelings, not letting it show, to this like completely relaxed, like living in the woods, like now that
completely
embraces it,
living with Northuldra, and whenever she wants, she goes and hangs out with her spirit friends. And that's just such a nice dynamic.
I don't know how you felt when we first enter the woods, right, or the Enchanted Forest, and we first meet the Northuldra people, and everyone's like, "Who are you?"
Oh my gosh, yes, this part.
And Olaf goes into his rendition of Frozen 1. And it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
It was so good. Like, oh my gosh. And they did, like, the time skips, so you could tell that this entire charade of him acting the whole thing out, zero props except for his snowy self. You could tell that this lasted for possibly hours. Who knows?
Right, like,
who knows?
And he tells the whole story from, like, beginning, from, like, Elsa hitting Anna in the very, very beginning of Frozen 1, all the way up through Frozen 1 ending. Like, and all of the details. Like, they talk about Hans and, like, the whole thing.
But, like, have you ever heard of, like, the Twitter, like, thing, tell us your favorite anime, but describe it badly kind of thing? Like, no right answers acceptable. That was how he told Frozen 1.
Yes. It was so amazing.
It was like so great, and what made it even better was one of the guards, I don't know if he was the crown guard or the general. Arendelle, the guy, like the highest level guy that was trapped in the forest. His facial expressions the whole time was like, "No way. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No." Like,
like he was so into it.
And the timing was perfect. Like, it wasn't like a really awkward, cringy thing like it easily could have been.
It was so good.
It was so good.
It was amazing. And they tell the whole story about, like, Olaf is like, and then, so after Elsa struck Anna, they were, like, sisters divided, but at least they still had their parents, and then he immediately, like, shoots to this, like, him huddled in a ball, but their parents are dead. And I was like, no, I shouldn't be laughing at this, but it was done so well, and it was hilarious.
At least they have their parents. Their parents are dead.
Yeah. It was like an anime. It was really, really good. Like him in a ball and the whole thing goes dark. And like all I can picture is like your typical anime, like blue vertical lines over them. Like and then black and white. And I was like, this is perfect. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
And I love how that whole thing was the icebreaker to get everybody to not break out into combat upon seeing each other. Yeah.
Olaf is like, hold on, wait, don't fight. I have a story to tell you. And then it breaks into that. And I was like, this is just so amazing.
Which of the spirits did you love?
The little lizard chameleon thing. he initially presents himself as the fire element, and he is just the most adorable. He's like your basic like Disney animal that you fall in love with. He's so adorable. Like he has a great little like cute personality, and you know, so he initially presents himself as the fire element and is kind of like setting the whole forest on fire.
Yeah.
And Elsa's like chasing him down and using her magic. So she's like chasing him down, and she gets him like to kind of huddle into this rock, and then it reveals this little cute lizard. And then he like jumps in her hands and like rubs, and it like cools him down because she's ice and he's fire. So she like puts out the fire, and he like relaxes and is happy. And that kind of dynamic goes through the whole movie here and there. And he's so cute.
He's so cute. And I loved how all the different elements were manifested very differently.
Yeah, the wind was very much just the wind.
Mm-hmm.
We had the earth giants.
Mm-hmm.
The like water stallion. How did you feel about the music in this?
Oh, I actually really liked it. Like the musical numbers I really liked. There were a couple that within the first few seconds I was like, oh no, where's this going?
Yeah.
But then it got really good. Kristoff's Love Angst song.
Oh, yes. Yes. That, it ended up being very funny, but in the beginning it was so cringy.
You didn't like talking Sven? Singing Sven.
Oh my god. Okay, so there is a line. It's the only line that he sings, or that we see him sing in the little
Excuse me. Yeah.
montage. But he starts singing, and I was like, oh, this can't be where we're going with this song. I can't. Like,
You can't sit through 3 minutes of this. Yeah.
no. It was horrifying. Like Sven, with his own mouth and in the voice that Kristoff usually gives him, but with his own mouth, is singing a line of the song, and I was just like, please no, please don't do this. You're gonna ruin the whole movie. But it is only that one line. But the whole song, as it was funny, but it just felt like kind of like a boy band with reindeer backup singers, and it was.
And I loved it. I loved it for the reasons you're hating it, because for like the first 30 seconds, like Jackie's saying, I was like, oh no, we're gonna have this singing reindeer. And, you know, okay, fine, you know what, you know, sing about why you're sad, because, you know, you don't know if she loves you. And, you know, your play is really irrelevant to the main plot right now. Like, your timing was just bad, but issues. We need a different song for something else that's going on, but okay.
I mean, in his defense, he does spend the majority of the movie trying to propose to Anna and failing at it miserably.
Everything goes wrong every single time. He accidentally calls her crazy once. Mm-hmm. He like fumbles so bad another time. She thinks he's trying to break up with her.
Yes, yeah. It was a disaster. He throws the ring all over the place. Like he fails miserably many times before he does eventually get it right. But so that's to his defense. I feel like how he's feeling is totally valid, but definitely not what we're like focusing on in the moment.
And what made me eventually love the song was as you transition from like, oh god, is this what this is? As the song progresses, it gets more and more obviously ridiculous. Like Judge was talking about the background reindeer singers.
Yep.
They even do like this hilarious scene where Kristoff is just like dramatically lounging against a tree. The sunset is coming behind him, and then while he's singing, like looking off and to the side of the camera, like his own face like fades in on the left side, and as soon as that started, I was like, oh boy, this is gonna be good. Like, this is picking on the 80s so bad right now. Yeah,
it really feels like an old music video.
Yes, that's exactly what it was.
I was not about it. I didn't like it. We actually listened to, on the way home, we listened to the soundtrack. On the way home, and I actually liked the song so much more without the weird like video behind it. It wasn't for me. I did not like it. But the rest of the soundtrack I thought was really good.
So that was your least favorite song. What was your favorite song?
I think when she like finally makes it to that like frozen island, and is like singing in that like cave, and like she creates that like snowflake on the ground, that whatever that song was, that was my favorite one.
Yeah, there were a lot of really good songs. That was definitely a good one. And like Honest Depression song,
Oh god,
that was amazing.
it was so good, but it was so real. Like I legitimately bawled my eyes out through that song. It was so relatable to anyone like who has those kind of feelings of like grief, depression, and like fighting through that and like making yourself get up and do like take the next step, and that whole like all the imagery of that bit and everything. Like I was dying. I mean, I cried several times during this movie, I'm not gonna lie, but that was like that hit home. I was like, oh boy.
And like a lot of powerful imagery they were using, and it wasn't just like a blanket grief song. The imagery is beautiful.
Yeah,
she's literally crawling out of a hole.
Yeah,
like,
and the animation of like her grief is so realistic.
The song, like a lot of the songs in this movie, started in a place, walked you through a very different place, and ended with a resolution. Yeah, and it ended with the very classic line that appears several times in the movie. When someone asks, well, what do we do next? When we are like overwhelmed or like there's like so much bad or anything, and the answer several times is the next right thing. Yeah,
just whatever the next right thing is. And I loved how like in that moment, like I thought this was also very realistic too. Like she wasn't just all of a sudden better. Yes, which I feel like happens a lot in like especially kids and Disney movies. Like it's like they're really sad, but by the end of the song, they're kind of like, yes, let's go. I'm all better. Everything's great. It's okay. Like, but this wasn't the case with that. She was just choosing her next thing. Right. Like her next right thing at the end of it. And everything wasn't better for her at the end, but she was like, this is just what I have to do now. And I loved that too, because that was very like, this is what real life is like. Like you don't just sing a song and it's all better. Like, or you don't just like suddenly pull yourself out of it and you're great and fine and nothing's bad ever again. So I loved that like commitment to the feelings that she was having. Yes. Like, and like embracing the fact that, okay, like she has been through a lot and she is gonna crawl her way out of this cave the best that she can and do the next thing. And that again, like I just loved the realness of that scene. The whole song, all of it. What are your like final thoughts on how you feel about Frozen 2?
Oh yeah. My final thoughts was I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And like as an adult, I loved Frozen 1. It was great, but I really like this one more. For a lot of reasons, and not just because the maturity level was higher, but yeah, I really loved this one. Like completely blew my expectations out of the water. This was great.
I completely agree. I loved it.
Phenomenal.
It was really good.
And yeah, as an adult audience, ours captivated the whole time.
Oh, same. So let us know. Have you seen Frozen 2 yet? What did you think? Favorite parts, least favorite parts? Tell us about it in the comments down below. And don't forget to follow us on our social medias. We have Twitter and Instagram, and we will leave links in the description below.